TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. I'm excited and delighted to be with you guys again for another episode. Let me knock out this echo really quick, and we'll be good. Just give me 2 seconds to do that. I think it's the phone lines. We got some echoes going on, so I think we're good now. Gothic, manning down the phone lines. With that being said, the phone lines are open. If you guys want to call in a little bit later in the show, we'll jump onto that. We got an awesome show planned for you guys today, man. It's going to be really good. I'm excited about today's guest. A lot that she brings to the table. We're going to jump into that here in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about healing, how to raise your vibration, energy healing, and everything in and out of that in between, because there's a lot of nuance when it comes to that, and a lot of modalities that we can explore and we can use to raise our vibration, which I think we need right now. And I'll be the first to admit, I need it. I need it right now. We're going through a hard time. I just have to be open and honest. I do have a heavy heart. We're losing people out here that are near and dear to my family and my friends. And, our prayers and condolences go out to everyone out there suffering, everyone out there fighting this disease, and trying to take care of your families and trying to remain positive. And so my prayers and hearts go out to each and every one of you guys. And I'm going to take just a moment of silence for those who we've lost within the last week or so. If anybody out there suffering, again, our prayers are with you. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Hug them. Squeeze them tightly. Kiss your children. These are trying times, and I think that's why shows like this matter. I think that us coming together and finding ways that in the midst of darkness that we can have a hope and have light in the midst of that, and be a light to our city, to our friends, to our families, to our nations. And so we're going to be exploring that today, guys. We need it. Thank you for all the prayers and continued support for me and my family as well. Thank you, guys. I want to say a huge thank you and a shout out to everybody supporting my work via Patreon. This is a listener-funded, listener-supported show. It doesn't exist without your help. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for supporting and co-creating this with me. It doesn't exist without you. Thank you so much. Shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Amanda Hernandez. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on. Dana Marie Miller. Thank you, Dana. Dylan Mason. Jeremy Bowman, and That's Weird, Ziggy. Stop doing it. That's really weird. Ziggy joined the Discord yesterday, and seen you join Patreon as well. So thank you guys for the support and being a part of the community. If you'd like to support, go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music, which is 200 plus songs. All the new stuff that's about to come out, you guys already get access to what's released. And like I said, all the community aspects of what we're building here, and privileges and perks and all that cool stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. We got other events that are coming up. We got retreats, we got programs, my album pre-order. All of that stuff is available for you to check out at TruthSeekah.com. So go there on the homepage. You'll see all the new stuff that we got coming out and going on. So if you guys want to get involved, check it out. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's discussion. My guest today is Dr. Alison J.K., my friend. Welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Feels like I'm going to be of service.
Oh, yeah.
In your life right now.
We need you, my friend. We need the energy. We need the healing. We need the light. We need the love. And I love exploring all of it and all of the modalities. And I checked out your work, checked out some of your interviews and what you bring to the table. And it's right up our alley for sure. So thanks for coming on and doing this with me. It means the world.
You're welcome. It's my honor. What do you want to ask? What's the first thing from you personally, not for your listeners?
Okay, for me, you know, the afterlife is a big one. You know, what happens, you know, when we cross, and where are our friends and family going? Where are we going, and where are they now in these trying times?
Oh, you went right to it, didn't you?
We got to.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I don't know for sure, but I have done loads of research, asking of questions, experiences myself, and helping folks, escorting them. It's one of the capacities I have. I don't like to use it a lot. I let my Reiki masters, which is only one of the first, it's the first and only one of the 5 energy medicine modalities I'm trained in before I created Vibration Upgrade System. My Reiki master was better and enjoyed helping people cross over with grace and ease. It's not my gig, but I've done it. I want to start with, there is a study done by a doctor who went around the world traveling, asking the question out, because he was asking the question of people who held the hand of a loved one who was crossing over, and they ended up going with the loved one, visually seeing it in their consciousness because they were so linked with the loved one, and there was so much compassion flowing as the loved one was crossing over. They did, so they ended up seeing the light. They came back to their bodies and reported it, and there had been enough of these cases across all different cultures around the world that this doctor then went and investigated it and wrote about it in a book. I don't even remember the name of the book. I just last week, with a client of mine, her assistant in Manila, Philippines, suddenly lost his 40-year-old wife within 24 hours. And he did, I actually am, this is fresh in my mind what I just said to you, because I had to help pull him back when I was working on him. He was way out there in his consciousness. He was way out there, like he wasn't embodied. So I feel like, from what I've experienced personally, it's like a removal out of the physical vehicle. So the chi, the life force, the soul leaves this physical vehicle, and different people take, depending on why they're leaving, from what I've seen and sensed, different people take different amounts of time. Now, remembering that I lived in Asia for 10 years and fully steeped in Buddhism and as a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, there's something called the bardo state. According to Tibetan Buddhism, there's 3 branches of Buddhism, right? And Buddhism comes out of the yogic path. Buddha was taking yoga classes in 8 limbs to yoga. Only one of them are the classes that we go to in the West for the body postures, the asanas. 5 of the 8 limbs in yoga are about working with consciousness, so meditation. is much more prevalent. And so Buddha took out the meditation component and walked around Asia traveling. And so different schools in different locations in Asia have Buddhism. Bardo state from the Tibetan Buddhist culture is something they pray for in that time that a soul has left their body before they get settled, so to speak, in the new home or the new dimension. And so I've prayed for people as they've done that after the initial escorting of the departure from the physical vehicle. Then this has gone into the prayer state. And if depending on, like, I've worked with someone who had tons of radiation, tons of chemo. The body had just a lot of difficulty prior to the death. And so when I checked in her bardo state, there was a lot of cleaning that still had to happen. There was darkness, not like in evil, but just it was density. And then there was another person who I assisted crossing over, to tell you for contrast, and they just shroop. They were ready to leave. They wanted to leave. They left, and they were like light and within contact within 48 hours. So when I say within contact, I mean the kinds of synchronicities that happen when this loved one has now been gone and you're thinking about them, typically out in nature, and a certain bird comes in, or a certain butterfly goes right across your eyesight. And you say, acknowledging that you understand, and I'm sure all listeners do too, right? So that transformation time is worthy of prayer, especially if they had a lot of suffering in the physical body for years. I don't mean like in the end 2 days. But somebody who dies in their sleep peacefully, in the old way where typically a lot of people would die, just in their sleep peacefully, that without much suffering physically prior, that's a quick transition. So, and if somebody dies of COVID, let's say they've been flu-like for a week. This is going back to the client, actually, last week, her 40-year-old assistant's wife. She had had flu-like symptoms for 7 days, but didn't go to the hospital, and husband didn't take her until the breathing had gotten difficult. They were apparently driving around Manila and couldn't get into any hospital because the hospitals were full, much like what is happening in the States, and especially in the southern states that we're both in, Florida and Alabama. And so in part, they made her sit in the waiting room. I could go into the details. I don't think we need to, but I didn't even work on her. I worked on my client's assistant, who was still here because they have a 14-year-old daughter. But tuning in now, I know this might sound non-compassionate. Everything I do comes from compassion, ideally, right? 7 days of flu-like symptoms, 24 hours of difficulty breathing doesn't qualify for it. It doesn't seem like there's a heck of a lot of clearing that has to happen to help them transition over through the bardo state. Now, I have had many sessions with clients on the table, and loved ones who've died have come in and want me to say stuff to the client. And not always doing that. Sometimes it's not appropriate for the client. I know that, especially with a higher vibratory being like angels, I can sustain it for a certain amount of time, and then I have to come out of the channel, the connection. It's the same with loved ones. It's just a little bit less than archangels, so to speak. I don't spend a lot of time in channeling. What I do is I gather the information needed to help a person live in their body, thriving here now on planet Earth. That's why I said my Reiki master tended to like to help people cross over. I like to help people thrive here on planet Earth as we go through this most intense. My second book's subtitle is Easing Humanity's Evolutionary Transition, because we are going through what is considered our biggest evolutionary leap ever, 2012 to 2032. COVID is just a part of it. So when loved ones, it's a pattern and a familiarity. Whenever loved one who's crossed over wants communication with their loved one. And the phrase I heard and hear the most is just ask for support. Now, I want to clarify. Loved ones who crossed over don't have capacities like angels, from what I've gathered. Like, you can't ask them to bring you like $1 million. And you can't really ask an angel to. We have to be choosing the $1 million and be a receptacle that is willing to receive $1 million, all of that. But when they say support, it feels like more from a heart space. Like, in a way, it feels, as I interpret it now, it feels like keep the connection. Keep talking to them in your heart. They're still there. It's just like we're here in this physical 3D dimension. 4D is right here. You just have to have the consciousness to access it. 5D is right here. You just have to have consciousness to access it, which is the whole yogic or meditation aspect of yoga, talking about expansion of consciousness. So I hope that helps so far.
Yeah. It's an interesting discussion, and I'm reminded. I've heard the term, the bardo and those kind of things, but I didn't really know what it was. And so this transition and this journey that one would take after they pass or leave this physical body. And really interesting too, that I remember going to my first Catholic funeral, and they talked about a very similar process. And so there were like some books that were taken out of the Bible that were in the Apocrypha and still used in Catholic tradition. And
what's that? The Apocrypha?
The Apocrypha is the 14 books that were taken out of the first versions of the King James Bible. There was 14 extra books, and they're called the Apocrypha. And so they're still in the Catholic versions as well. So they still use those books. But they mention this journey that the soul takes once they leave the body. And I feel like it was like a 7-day journey, and that you pray your loved ones through and you help assist them on that journey. And that's something that the Catholic faith believes in. And I remember going to a funeral just from, being a, not a Catholic, more evangelical faith. And I heard that term. I was like, oh, that's very strange. I never heard that. But a lot of Eastern traditions believe that, right? This journey that the soul takes to go to heaven, if you will, or the summer land. I mean, many different words for this place that we supposedly end up, right?
And one of the biggest impressions I had from all the studies I did in the 10 years over there in the East was they don't have a division the way we do in the West between lifetimes.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so much of a seamless segue from one lifetime to another, and then also the concept of karma, that it's really viewed differently, the passing away of somebody. Like, I remember I was it was like first or second year over there, and I was teaching an international school and an administrator, and I was working with Chinese administrators too. And I asked one of them, who was there for us expats to help us kind of adjust, because it's massive. I was noticing in the winter, he was talking really casually about an aunt that had died. So I'm fresh out of it. And I had lived around the world, but not this far east, many times before, but fresh out of the West, first or second year. And I was horrified at the casualness with which he said that. And I didn't say anything because it was inappropriate. But he did it again, like within the next month. And then he did it again. And I had to ask. And because of my position in the school, we had a special relationship, so I was able to ask. And when I asked him, why do you seem to be treating the death so casually? In the West, it's a really big deal. Like, when somebody passes, there's a lot of suffering and grief and mourning. And he's like, because it's cold, it's winter, we don't have heat, it's damp, it's to be expected. Old people die, their immune system's less. And it was so neutral. I've never been the same since hearing him say it the way he said it.
Yeah. I've got a good friend of mine, Michael Basham, has a radio show on the Fringe Network, which is the network that I'm a part of. And he lived over there in Asia for a while. And then his view of things, of how closely connected we are with the spirit world, and beings and all of that from living over there. Again, they talk to him like they're standing next to him, and some people can see them, and they, they wouldn't talk about them in past tense, like you're saying. They're like, yeah, they're still here walking around. We just can't see them. But you have to train yourself to see them. You have to train yourself how to feel and how to know and to pay attention to little nuances, like you said, the
Yeah, it's all
butterfly
subtle.
or the bird
Called
or the
subtle
wind
energy.
or the smell. Yeah, the
It's
smells
called
are big
subtle
too.
energy. Yeah,
Mhm.
the smells are big, and they're becoming bigger lately. But there's thresholds put on our physical five senses, right? In psychology, we go
Yeah.
crazy. This is now the Western psychology background I have. We go crazy if we could pick up everything that's actually right
Yeah,
here
for sure.
around us. So there's thresholds on each of the five senses. But one of the things that happens from when you do, as you're saying, the training to expand your consciousness, and meditations, the meditation path is one of these ways, or the yogic path with regular meditation. The work that the Dalai Lama did with Western scientists, they were measuring the expansion of the consciousness and the change in heart rate and lots of physiological stuff. But what also got understood is that those thresholds on our five senses get lessened, so we can see and perceive more in the way you just talked about. So
Yeah,
it's an understood science, you know what I mean? And it's called subtle energy, and there's a spectrum too between really gross, it's called gross, the heavy physical dense, really like a big movie screen with lots of loud stuff happening in a physical movie theater, and then all the way to the most subtle, like what you just said, picking up a smell. So there's even a spectrum.
it's beautiful, and I love ESP. I did an album, a spiritual hip hop album entitled ESP, where I tried to go into and describe each of the giftings, if you will, and abilities, and how we can tap into, and also linking them to the scriptures and how Jesus and the prophets and
Wow.
disciples were able to kind of journey in between the worlds and continue to communicate. It's beautiful, and I think a lot of people who are listening are starting out on that journey. They're hungry for it and the
Yeah.
information, and they're having or have had beautiful, unique experiences that were just breadcrumbs from the universe, from the Creator, to let them know, listen, there's more to this life, to this existence, than what you can touch, see, taste, and smell. And so,
And in fact, I would say that more is more important.
that's big. That's big. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "What is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." So the other realm is it doesn't expire, if you will. There's no
Eternal.
time. There's no space. There's no matter. It is straight ether.
So remember that when your heart is grieving and heavy, because I know the hardest thing when we lose someone we love is the loss of their physicality and not being able to hug them.
Mm-hmm. And it's
down
weird.
and connect.
It's weird how we grieve. Like,
It is. It's the weirdest emotion of all of them.
and
Is
I'll
that
tell you,
predictable?
we're going to grieve, and we process in different ways. Some people shut down, some people shut off, some people don't talk about it. Like, it's their own way of processing.
Yeah.
But in the West, like, I've lost a lot of friends and family over the years, and we go to like these little Baptist churches here, and they're family churches, and it's quiet, and it's hugging, and yeah, we're mourning and grieving and stuff, and it's real somber and it's sad, and we're looking at a slideshow and stuff, and that's like it's been the normal way for us to deal with the loss of a loved one. But my cousin, I grew up with him, and he passed a couple years ago. Party animal, wild soul, free, his whole family. They're big into New Orleans football, the New Orleans Saints. And so instead of going to a church, they held the ceremony in their backyard. And the attire wasn't suit and tie. It wasn't all black. It was wear Saints memorabilia, wear New Orleans Saints football jerseys. Listen, we did a memorial, but it was a celebration. It was different. I was like, listen, I want this. We were happy. We're telling stories. Yeah, we're crying, but we're celebrating. Like literally, not just like in your heart celebrating. No, we're literally telling. It was different, man. And it was awesome.
Irish do it that way too.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole, you just raise your own vibration talking about
I did. I sure did. got to keep doing it. For sure.
And one of the other ways to raise the vibration instantaneously is gratitude.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another way is going out into nature, just taking a 5-minute break and step outside and be in nature somewhere next to a tree, back up against a tree, hug a tree.
Yeah.
Because that will also open up the possibility for the reconnection, like of the loved one reaching out with a message.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, joy.
Yeah. So thank you for going there with me at the beginning of this show. And we got deep really quick. And I guess it's good. I guess it's good to start this way, because I tell you what, I don't like ending this way. I don't like ending the way on like getting real heavy and say, all right, folks, that's all. Like we gotta end on a high note. So we started on this low note, and for for good reason, and because we have hope and we need to raise our vibration, and so to be there for one another. But one thing I like to kind of discuss on this show is hear people's origin stories, their genesis. Like, how did you get started? Where did this start for you? And were you having encounters and experiences as an adolescent and a little kid? Because I like to go back to that first experience. But where did this whole journey start for you? What was the first seed that was planted, do you think?
So how I've come to answer that question is I grew up walking outside in the woods, and we lived pretty rurally. I grew up outside of Boston, like 30 minutes south of Boston, and it was quite rural. It wasn't farmland by any means, it was a suburb, but lots of nature. And so my older brother, who's 3 years older than me, and I would walk out in the woods every day after school and on the weekends growing up when I was under 10. And not that we hard stop it when I became 10, that's how I remember it. And I would connect, Derek and listeners, with everything. Like, my brother would be in front of me, being a boy, hopping on like the broken tree limbs and breaking them, even, breaking them in half. I'm, meanwhile, 3 years younger than him, trailing behind him, and like just doing what you're seeing me do now. Like it like really not feel separate from the dragonflies over the creek, or from the clovers down on the floor bed of the forest, to the trees, to the breeze, to the butterflies, that were just totally connected. And I stayed that way. And then in my teen years, I started writing in a journal to seemingly even cultivate that connection. Mm-hmm. So by the age of 19, I was reading the I Ching. However, you're going to dig this. When I was, I don't tell the story a lot, especially to the general public. Usually it's in my contained community. I was 13 or 14 at a sleepover party with my girlfriends at a friend's house. And we were looking at pictures. We were looking at Jim Morrison's album where he's in shirtless with the black leather pants, American Prayer, I think it is. And just digging on Jim Morrison. And I decided I wanted, so within a month's time, a couple of months before that, my brother and I had attended a hypnosis show at the high school. And my brother actually got called up on the stage because he got hypnotized. I don't get hypnotized easily. And so I had this idea on the sleepover. I want to try and hypnotize you. I'm going to do what he did. But I didn't know how to do what the guy did, so I made it up. So I took them on this guided visualization. One of my girlfriends actually ended up hypnotized, and I couldn't get her out of it because I didn't know how. So what I ultimately did was draw her a cold bath, and we didn't throw her in the bath, but we put her in the cold bath to wake her out of the hypnotism. It was really wild. So I had a sense of my power, if you will, then. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it's those little things, man. And it's cool to go back and remember those too. Like, I remember our first experience with something at the time was called cat scratches on the back. I don't know if you heard of that. And there's probably different versions, but you would lead someone in a hypnosis and we would put their head in our laps and massage their temples. Relax, relax. And we tell this story about you walking down the road and sidewalk, and you look behind you and there's this cat, and then you turn back and you start running. You're running from the cat. The cat's trying to get you, and finally the cat grabs you and starts clawing your back. And in this visualization, and now you have
Derek.
It was kids tapping into the paranormal, man. Come on. And so the person hurries up and gets up after the attack, and they have scratch marks all over their back. And so we would like take turns doing this experiment. and be like, listen, something is connecting our visualization to the physical reality. Something's happening, you know?
Under 10?
Yeah.
I asked that
for sure.
because from the studies in research and all, 0 to 6, the veil is dropped. So those capacities are pretty understandable.
Yeah.
It would translate into the scratches physically because the separation hasn't really occurred yet between the metaphysical and the physical, the way that it does after 6.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get into raising your vibration as far as dealing with energy healing and working with energy and being able to receive it or send it as well and being a channel for that energy?
Again, I feel like it was a natural recognition of who I already was and learning how to cultivate that, bring it forward, build it. But on a more granular level, my mom, like I was age 12 to 14-ish, we were sitting out back on a swing, and she was just really intuitive and really in tune with her only daughter. I have 3 brothers and I'm the only girl. And she said, Alison, you're really good with people. You should consider being a psychologist. And so I sat there and I felt it out, and it felt like a yeah. So I did that. But 3 semesters in, it wasn't answering my question that I was sitting there asking, not literally, but feeling, show me how to be the happiest, most thriving version of myself and ourselves. Instead, it was about like proving themselves as a hard science, using psychology in capitalistic ventures of like industrial management and HR. And it just wasn't at all about what I was looking for. So from there on in, I've really been looking at, and meanwhile, that freshman year, I took my first semester as an elective in yoga class, the second semester an elective in personal training, both of which I am. So I was in the university I chose for myself rather than like the track my parents had really wanted me on, like a more Ivy League gig. I really had to get my voice heard to get to this university I wanted. And I didn't understand it until later, like I think around end of sophomore year. There's a Buddhist pagoda there. Also, the first Westerner American who wrote about mindfulness comes out of that college. So I bought my first copper bracelet and learned about yoga, as I just said there. So I understand why I was pulled there. And so, yeah, I ever since have been looking for the holistic response to how do we be the happiest, most thriving versions of ourselves. It wasn't from, I don't even call myself a healer. I don't even call what I do energy healing, because we are naturally, our systems are naturally, for the majority of people, wired for, as my second book says, a conspiracy for your bliss, vibrational upgrade, a conspiracy for your bliss. Our mind, body, spirit system really centers on the chakras, where it's the intersection of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And from looking at the design that the creator has for our systems, we are designed for health and well-being. It's not for suffering and disease. Now, suffering and disease happen later, but I don't call myself an energy healer. I call myself an energy medicine practitioner, because part of my mission is, when I came back from the 10 years in Asia studying this, going there already, doing energy medicine sessions and holistic health and wellness. And I had gone there to help improve. I was already getting really cool results with my clients, but I was really having fun when I first started practicing, first with Usui Reiki. And I'm only 6 removed from the founder. It's just baffling to me how direct my lineage is. I'm so fortunate. And so when I was using just that modality at the time, and then my background in supplements and tonic herbalism, at that point, I was like, this is really fun. How do I get even better results? And so I ended up moving to Asia and taking my classroom teaching to the international level, and became an administrator there professionally, but while on the side, on the weekends and nights, treating both expats like myself as well as local Chinese in sessions, and got my PhD while I was over there. So it grew, but I think if you go back, Derek, you're asking really cool questions. I love what you're asking, because they're different than other interviews I've been on. You're coming from a real human, realistic, day-to-day perspective, and I love it. So thank you.
For sure.
Yeah. Does Does that help?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. And reading some of the comments here, and I want to let everybody know we are opening up the phone lines. And so if you guys have a question for Alison K, make sure you call in now, and we'll try to get to your call here in a moment. Make sure you click like on YouTube, because it actually sends it out to more people with the algorithms. And so we know that's our biggest enemy these days, is the algorithm.
The almighty algorithm!
More people. So make sure you guys click like and share this out. People need it right now. People need this, you know, I need this. And so, you know, that's the beautiful thing, is like just ministering to what we're dealing with, knowing that we can feel what the collective is dealing with, you know, thinking that we're isolated or by ourselves and woe is me. Listen, we're feeling the impulses of the collective and what they're going through. So I guess that leads me to the next question, something you've been saying. I've never heard it called this, but you say expat. Is that the same thing as it, Empath?
I felt you trip on that word. Yeah. Expatriate.
Okay.
Somebody who lives outside their country,
Okay.
in another country. Nothing mystical or groovy.
Okay.
It can lead to mystical and grooviness, but it's not a groovy term.
For sure. So empaths, being able to pick up on other people's energies, and before you become aware of it, it's kind of weird. It can lead to some strange experiences and even psychosis. Like you gotta, you know, ask questions. You gotta lean into it a little bit, you know, and podcasts like this help, because when I was going through all my awakening and seeing stuff and UFOs showing up to me on command and just breaking through that veil, I didn't have anybody to talk to, but I did have podcasts and open line shows on Blog Talk that I would call in and say, hey man, what's going on, you know? So people who are like, you know, on the brink of this stuff, what are some ways that they can maintain and balance like awakening and raise their vibration, you know, just to maintain that balance?
Okay, so there's such different positioning, but you're really asking for the people who are just having the breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not crazy. You're not going crazy. My whole gig that I talk about is, there's two main gigs, in that every day we make our choices from only at most 15% of the, you know how you can hear your thoughts? I mean, meditation, having a practice for the past 5,000 years of meditation itself, if you can observe your thoughts, that implies that you're not just your thinking mind. So the part of you that's not just your thinking mind, the perceiver or the observer, both with capital P, perceiver, capital O, observer, can get enhanced. So we have the front of the mind, the frontal lobe, the frontal consciousness. And so that's where we hear the thoughts. And at most, the scientific measurement is 15% of where we make our daily choices from, the thoughts, feelings, and conclusions that create our lives are only 15% here. I think it's more like 10, even 5, from what I've seen from the tens of thousands of people at this point I'm working with. And the rest is from the back of the house consciousness, which is the subconscious, which is sub means under, or the unconscious, un means not conscious. So there's a lot of potential, because as you heard me say, I approach this from how can we be the most happiest, thriving versions of ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about our human potential, not about healing issues and struggles. I'll deal with that along the path. So, is there someone asking a question?
You can go ahead. It was somebody put us in a room. You're good.
Okay.
Muted.
Hey, doing? Cool.
All right, we're good.
Okay. So you will have, I'm going to transition over into something else now, the second gig, to answer this question. I do things kind of still like the Asian way, where it's a circular story and the message isn't just like 5 bullet points, like kind of the American mindset is expecting. So just hang, just relax, get in your body, be in your heart, and just follow. I'm going to give, it's more story form in the way I answer questions, because you're getting a transmission. It's just the way I've ended up. I came back from Asia in 2010, and in 2011, Voice America approached me to ask me to do a radio show on the Mayan galactic alignment that was going to be happening on December 21st, 2012. Derek, I wasn't doing anything in my front-facing business about the Mayan galactic alignment. I was not public-facing, taking VIP clients to the Mayan ruins in the Yucatan. So I told them, okay, give me 48 hours. Let me listen to my intuitive response. And I said, yes, full body, huge yes. So I began to interview not only the scientists who I quote in my first book, What If There's Nothing Wrong, who had ways to measure, subtle energy and our consciousness and some of the phenomena we've been talking about. But I also brought on specialists about what 2012 was marking. The Mayans aren't the only ones who saw 2012 as the end of an era and the start of a new era. The Yogi Bhajan and the yoga culture, there's a thing called yugas. That's the word for era. Mm-hmm. And so one era was ending, the new era is beginning. Astrologers, end of the Piscean age, beginning of the Aquarian age. There's other cultures, but the point is that 2012 was the end of an old. When I was in Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City, these are Mayan and Aztecian ruins, we hired a guide and I asked him, this is now in 2019, so years later, I'm not doing the radio show anymore. I did it for 2.5 years weekly. I asked the native guide, 2019, at the Mayan ruins of Teotihuacan, what do you feel like, looking back, the difference between the old paradigm and the new one that 2012 marked? And he said the old one was about destruction. The new one is about construction. So what I understand, and I've been tracking with that ever since, we had an awakening. The vibratory shift that we now live in, it's like we used to live based on Newtonian physics, which is the physical stuff is solid and real. You can predict based on gravity what's going to happen, like playing pool, cue ball pool. Then it's shifted since 2012 and it's continuing to shift even more as our vibrational backdrop is based on quantum physics. So that's one way to think of it. Mm-hmm. So everything that was so solid and real before is no longer that way. And it's called humanity's awakening, spiritual awakening. So I've seen people come to me through the years with, oh my God, my ears won't stop ringing. Oh my God, I can't stand, I can feel everybody's negativity around me. I've had death of a loved one, I've lost my job, and I'm getting divorced. Like these massive crises all happening at once was really typical to closer to 2012. So if we don't proactively work with our consciousnness, then we're going to be forced to through crisis, so that the ego mind has to shift. So what I've been seeing about the nature of these times is that which I just said. And many people have been putting off being proactive about working with their consciousness, and they wait until crisis. So they look for the healer instead of the person proactively saying, stepping into learning how to make that you're responsible for what's happening in your life, that those mystical things or those synchronicities are happening because of the thoughts and emotions and feelings you carry. And if you were to work with your consciousness via the subtle energy system, like the chakras, you can arrange yourself differently. So more of the back of the house consciousness is accessible to use to make different choices, more geared towards what your heart's asking for and less what your mind's demanding. So for all of that to happen, to step into the empowered co-creator role, where we're creating a healthy earth and we're creating a healthy community life globally and more, to come out of that destructive era, we've had to have a lot of cleansing. I did not philosophize about COVID. I have been talking from 2011 about this clearing time. The earth has been clearing and everybody has been clearing. That's why people have been more sensitive with the skin. That's why people have had increasing allergies. And it's all, everything is awakening. And so you're not crazy. Learning, these are actual skills that every human has. And we're meant to be moving into the times where you're thinking about somebody and then their text shows up, because we are a big matrix all connected. It does not mean that I can stand here and read your thoughts, Derek. It does not mean that you can access my field. So a lot of what I've been doing is teaching people how to work with their energy field and how to work with their energy and their mind to come into these new skills, because it's no longer the intellect. It's now allowing for this greater field, what I call the Tao, what's called the Tao, and it's a field of unlimited possibilities. So if we're clear, our chakras are open and emanating out, it creates our field that's then the universe is able to interact with. If we're shut down and in our head and suffering and full of our self-absorbed narcissistic thoughts about, oh, whoa, always me, life sucks, it's really hard, which it does get sometimes, then that's not going to be able to reach us. So it's an aspect of coming out of the mind dominance, coming out of the thoughts that cause suffering, learning how to do that, opening up, raising the vibe, just like you got joyous. You came out of the heavier. Yeah. That was embodied emotion, though. That's a little bit different. But it really is a thing. It's the whole thing about being alive on planet Earth right now. And some people, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. So, yeah, how's that?
Yeah, gratitude is huge, you know. I was just watching a video yesterday, and it just comes back to mind. I'm big on, you know, I mentioned UFOs a while ago, and
yeah,
going out into a field and making contact. And for me, that like wrecked my spiritual awakening and ramped things up. And, you know, I knew that well, it just made it real. It made it real. It made the angels real. They exist somewhere and travel back. And there was so much, and it opened up so much other things, you know, that was unlocked through that. So I was watching just a presentation yesterday of some guys who go out and do it, and they were on a pretty big podcast, and they call themselves the summoners. You know, that's what we called it early on, summoning UFOs or something. But they talked about the main key is gratitude. Like, you got to find that thing, reach down and find something that makes you happy, some reason that you're thankful to be here, and go to that place. And in that place allows you to facilitate what it is that you want, the desires of your heart. Like, it was, you know, in that case, summoning UFOs or making contact, like, this is what we want to do. This is the desire of our heart, and we're going to go to the good place and say hello if you're out there. And it happened. Same thing with manifesting anything in our lives, right? We have to go to that place that brings us joy and is gratitude. There's a scripture. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, there's a scripture that says when you step into the presence of God, to enter the gates with thanksgiving and enter the courts of heaven with praise. And so that's really big. Like, I try to live in that place. I try to live there.
That scripture just showed it's how you connect to the kingdom of heaven. It's how you connect to the metaphysical. I want to clarify what you're saying right now, because what I just did, the explanation I just gave, can seem like I'm making it complicated. I'm not. What I have come to understand is that people have a really difficult time once they've dropped into their heart and they're focused on their heart's desires, allowing it to occur. All of the subconscious and unconscious stuff comes up, like, I'm not worthy, this is nuts, I can't have what I want, my family isn't meant to live at this higher level of income, I don't come from people like that. Like, people block themselves from having what they want. So what I've come to learn is while yes, dropping into the heart is a momentary vibrational raise and allows more access to everything in our interconnectiveness, especially, there are clearings, there are processes that have to happen. And I'm cautious when people on YouTube and I'm on YouTube, or on Facebook, and I'm on Facebook, or on Instagram, where they come up with these like social media memes that say, just focus on what you want. And then when somebody can't do that, which is typical, they give up after a couple of months, and they say this stuff doesn't work, or this metaphysical stuff is bullshit. And it's not the case. It's just not some simple dropping into the heart momentarily raises your vibration. It gives you more joy. But I don't know. I just need to clarify that, because I've been fielding for years lots of people who have given up and are frustrated, or are really increasing their capacities.
Yeah, I'm with you. And do you think we make it too easy or too hard with that? Because I mean, the side of just focus on what you want and it'll be there. Law of attraction, secret. All you gotta do is focus on it. But there's other, I'm gonna say more complicated process, but you got to bring it to gratitude. Know that it's done. Know that it's already within you and not outside of you. You know.
But to know that it's done, that holding of that vibratory space, that's what I'm talking about. I see so many people trip themselves up on. Yeah. And to then be able to know that it's done and increase your life, like turn up the volume of the thriving in your life. It doesn't seem easy. People don't have an easy time. The words are nice, but to actually do it so that what you're desiring manifests, I don't see people having easy times with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Derek?
For sure. Yeah. I want to share this this audio here and let's see if it'll share here and you can hear it. I just want you to hear this, but it's about The Secret. And I remember hearing this some years ago from Dave Chappelle, which was almost a skeptic of it. It's a 2-minute snippet. I don't know how much of it I need to play, but let me see if you can hear this and see if we can give a response to it. Cause I think you kind of touched on this.
You know what I hate ever since I walked away from that show is that people keep trying to give me advice. Cause I guess I've been like depressed. You know, you be depressed and people be like trying to cheer you up. And then I in the show business. That's what made me so mad about it. So they'd be saying stupid, hey Dave, look, I know that was a rough experience and I can only imagine what you've been through, but you know, you just gotta hang in there and what you gotta do is you just gotta keep your chin up. Just keep your chin up, Dave. Word, that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing wrong. My chin was too low. Shut the fuck up. It had nothing to do with my chin, nigga. Fuck is keep your chin up. What kind of shit is this? See niggas walking around show business. Oh, I know. So, and this girl I knew sent me a book called The Secret. She was like, listen, Dave, if this is gonna help you, it's called The Secret. I thought this, and I started reading the book and I read like 5 pages of shit and threw it in the trash. I was fucking, I can't believe they sell this shit. Do you know what this bitch says the secret of life is? She said it was positive imagery. You gotta visualize the things you wanna have happen in your life. Like, bitch, that's the secret of life to you? Then kill yourself. It's gotta mean more than that. Positive imagery. The bitch fly to Africa and tell one of them starving children that shit. What's wrong with you? I have not eaten in 5 days. What you need to do is visualize some roast beef and some mashed potatoes and gravy. Oh, please, bitch, you're killing me. Stop talking like that. No. The problem is you have a bad attitude about starving to death.
Hell of a point, though, right? When it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the people who I work with are now helping at an international level, different. Some of the people who get trained in vibrational upgrade system, meaning they're helping at a higher level because they've reached more of their potential, which seems like a natural thing. So I know I used to use the movie The Secret in this AP Psych class that I taught, and also in the Transcendentalist unit when I was teaching English literature. And Emerson is in there, who is one of the biggies in our history, American history. A couple of the people that were in the movie The Secret are quoted on the back of a couple of my books. I've been interviewed by a couple of them and are friends with them. I was just on a summit with one of them. I feel like taking that mystical ancient wisdom and then putting it into pop culture and marketing it for people, like somebody who lives in an ashram and isn't going to go into New York City and start talking about being able to send love to someone and help them have a better day. And then the person actually responds with having had a better day, because it's not a receptive audience. their consciousness hasn't expanded enough. It's not about polarity or division. I find that it's really about the stage of evolution a person is at. And what Dave Chappelle, and here's another point though. I don't use guided imagery. I don't use visualization. I don't use guided visualizations. I don't find that they work until the person's at a certain level of having purified and work with their consciousness that can hook and be effective. So what are you looking for from me? Do you want me to do more than what I just did?
I don't know. I just
I feel like there's a question you're holding.
Well, I think we have to be, it helps to be cynical sometimes about some of our beliefs.
Yes.
And I guess how simple, I mean, he made the greatest point, tell the little kid in Africa to visualize, eating, and they're already, the pun is that they're not doing it, they're not seeing it or whatever.
Eric, you're saying what I've been saying though, is that people come in and they listen to the clearings and activations and they think that that's it.
Yeah.
They don't, but the whole point, and that's the cheapest way to work with me. And it's where the majority of people coming into me from Facebook and YouTube want to stay. It takes a special person to then come out of the under $100 gig and go into the fourth figure investment with me to work with me, so that it's not just about the blurbs, so that it's about actually taking responsibility for being able to make new choices to make a better life. So that kid starving in Africa doesn't need guided visualization. He needs to know either how to forage or how to move to another location where there is food. So the practical skills is what I'm saying. But the biggest glitch we're in right now, and I dare say it's even why COVID came along, is that step from I'm a consumer, I'm an ego mind driven person, I'm demanding what my demands are, and that's how life is, to being responsible for what's in our lives and working with our own triggers rather than being pissed off at what somebody outside of us over there is doing, and expanding and evolving ourselves. And so that means also not walking into a grocery store and handing somebody, telling somebody, I'm seeing because I'm empathic or intuitive right now, and I just want you to know what I'm seeing. Or being like Dave Chappelle's friend and giving a book to somebody who's clearly not receptive. And that's how I train my students, So everybody's at their own stage.
Well, I guess it comes down to your spirituality has to be practical as well. I mean,
hell yeah, it's mundane and spiritual, marrying in our lifetime. Now that's the nature of the times we're in. It's no longer I make money, but I don't give a shit about the spiritual, or I'm really spiritual and I'm broke in order to be close to God. These two are coming together. Yes.
And I know, I'm sure you're familiar with the parable of the Good Samaritan in the Bible, where the person. So there's a story in the Bible that Jesus tells, and it's a parable, but he tells a story of somebody that got beat up and robbed and left for dead on side the road. And so you have the religious leaders walking by him, and we will pray for you, sir. And they keep walking. You have the priests, you have the Pharisees, these holy men, spiritual men, walk by him and, sir, we'll pray for you. And then somebody that their people kind of look down upon, somebody who is not as spiritual, if you will, or somebody who is a second-class citizen, walks by the person bleeding and hurting and goes up to him and mends his wounds, gives him something to drink, and pays for his recovery. Like physically, like, listen, we can pray, but our prayers we can do something now.
We need action.
We can do it. We can take action. So it's like faith without works is dead. We have to, there's a connection, spiritual, ether, even in the mind, imagery, right? But what are you going to do? Like hold the thought, but do something, right?
Metaphysical, meta prefix means beyond the physical. Metaphysical, where you're sensing all that groovy shit. And then physical, meta, they're marrying. And it's also the balance of the feminine and the masculine. The feminine, and this is what we're uncomfortable with in the West big time. We love the masculine, we love the patriarchy, we love the dominance, we love the alpha males. They're sexy, big, blow up things. It's like tangible, we can prove it. We are really uncomfortable in the land of the yin, or the invisible, or the feminine. So the act of intuition and listening to it, or saying prayers, is yin. The act of of doing something, of giving money, of making something happen, of going for your goals. How familiar is that in America? That's the yang. So the balance is both spiritual, tending to my inner, and then taking outward action. Yin yang, masculine, feminine, feminine, masculine, balance now.
Yes. People don't like that word, but that is the narrow path, is in the
What word?
middle. Balance.
Yeah, that's what Buddha always said. You know, it's the middle path. Take
Yeah.
the middle path.
Yep. 100%. I found that to be true in my life, and all the ancient texts and scriptures and all that stuff, they really talk about this place that is in the middle. Obviously, with politics and with religion and all of that, the truth can be found somewhere in the middle. Alison, thank you for coming on, hanging out with me. I really enjoyed this talk, and I know we can go a lot longer, and I'll have to have you back on. I know you're pressed for time here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. You got a lot of stuff that you offer and a lot of stuff that you bring to the table. So where can people tap in with you? Where's the best place for them to book a session, find your work, and find out more about you?
This is my most recent book, The Dragon Master Creatrix, Conversations with a Female Spiritual Teacher for These New Times. This is, all of my books are on Amazon. Let me show you this. This one's in Audible. This is the quickest read, but it's also the only one that's on Audible. And this might be where some of the listeners want to go. This is my third book. Vibrationalupgrade.com is a free Facebook group. That's where you can find my highest trained practitioners, but also sometimes me. Vibrationalupgrade.com is my website. We have a free monthly call I've been doing for a decade now as part of my service, as well as all the work I do on behalf of the collective silently, alone, and then with my most advanced practitioners. So free monthly call. When you get to my website, look at the new start here to the far right. If you want to work with me, if you want to book a session, I don't do just a one-off session. It's not in my training. It's a process. So if you're looking for a one-off one session, that's not with me. But if you're looking for working in an ongoing way to let go of the old and increase your capacities for the new, then you can check me out. Look at the work with me part of my vibrationalupgrade.com website.
Awesome. And we obviously there's a reason why you don't do much of that anymore, because you know that there's an extended work that needs to be done, and it's a continuation versus a one and done kind of thing with people, right?
It can almost damage somebody sometimes. They can have too much of an awakening. If they get blasted, but they don't get the help afterwards to integrate it, it's kind of what you were talking about earlier, some of the suffering that people in their awakening time can have.
Yeah, good stuff. And Alison, anytime you want to come back on and continue this conversation, I'd be delighted to have you, because I know we can go deep. Thank you so much for helping me.
Yeah,
smile. And I need to smile. I'm gonna carry it with me. A lot of other people need that. It's tangible. Thank you so much, Alison. We'll do it again. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your light, Derek. Thanks for having me.
All right, my friend.
Namaste.
Shalom. Namaste. Thank you. Alison J.K., ladies and gentlemen, look her up. Her Facebook group, her Facebook page, her books. She's got a lot of amazing work out there. There's a lot of testimonials. She's helped and is helping a lot of people. So really cool. I just found out about her and been checking out her stuff, and I'm really impressed with what she's bringing to the table, and making herself available out there. So I know we had some trouble with the phone lines. We had a couple of people try to call in. Gothic, are you with me? Are we working on that? Or I think you're trying to get it set up now. So if people want to try to call in here, we got a few more minutes left on the show. The call-in number is 515-605-9776. We're trying to get these phone lines up and running without any echoes and stuff like that. So if anybody wants to call in, say hello, ask a question, feel free to do that. And I'm gonna jump to the chat now, see what you guys are talking about. So shout out to some of the people here. Fred Lynch, love you, brother. Fred Lynch says, beautiful podcast. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate that, brother. Beautiful podcast. Jennifer loves Groot and Grogu.
Chat now. See what you guys are talking about.
We still hear an echo.
Unmuted.
Josh, if you can mute that phone line, the other one. Jennifer says love.
All right.
Amen to that. Thank you. Cultivating life around in every way.
Muted.
Richie says fun little
Can you hear
stand
me?
up. Yeah. It's fun little stand up break. Gratitude. Yeah, I didn't know it was as, I mean, I know
Unmute.
Dave Chappelle is pretty I wouldn't say raunchy, but he tells the truth, man, in a cynical comedic way, which I think sometimes allows us to be able to tell, deep truths and finding art and comedy and laughter in a way that he's only Dave Chappelle is able to do. So to make you think, right? To make you think, oh, you've made it so easy. What's up with, so all you got to do is visualize it? No. A lot of people talk trash about The Secret and visualizing a miracle or visualizing something happening. And I understand the psychology behind it, because once you see it, then you begin to look for patterns. You begin to look for, okay, I had this image and vision of something I wanted to bring to the table, something that I wanted to create. And now I'm starting to see patterns. Now I'm starting to see opportunities, and I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to keep it in the forefront of my mind. So just visualizing something and then letting it go, that's totally not it. There's a practice that happens. There's a lifelong pursuit for manifestation. I mean, some things happen instantly. You see it, you visualize it, boom, the next day or the same day, you're seeing stuff manifest in your life. You're seeing stuff happen instantly. Some stuff takes months, some stuff takes years, and some stuff doesn't manifest. Like, I don't know the timing of manifestation, of consciousness and of the mind and how all that works. We've seen it in our own lives, and repeatability has always been the things that we write books about and the things that we explore. How do we continue this? And I know one thing we've always, like in Christendom, we've always kind of, at least in our circles, said that God doesn't like this formula or this formulaic relationship, that if I do this, I get that kind of thing, that it is a song and dance. It is a lifelong pursuit that kind of permeates every area of your life, versus that I've got it figured out, that all I got to do is do this every time, versus the Spirit is moving. The Spirit is going left. The Spirit is going right, up and down and moving around in a cadence. And you have to be tapped in and tuned in to be able to move around and able to receive, versus having a very formulaic faith or belief system, if you will, that all you have to do is do this to touch God, or to see things work. And it's debatable. We'll say that. It's debatable. We don't know, but we've seen glimpses. We've seen pieces of it. We've written books, and we're exploring it. And if we're not doing anything else, we're exploring on this podcast, having different people on with different walks of life and from different backgrounds, and picking their brain about these subjects. And I love to hear the similarities and the differences even. So the nuance in between. Clarity Consciousness, which is my friend Missy Peckham from the last podcast that we did that was really good. Missy says, when you connect with God and ask for his guidance, self-sabotage becomes a thing, and thing of the past life, and life becomes easier. Amen. It's so good. There was another comment here from Lisa on YouTube, Facebook, and she says that, which is an interesting notion, that whenever Alison talked about that inner dialogue and that voice in your head, that conversation that you have, that consciousness that you hear, and how real is it, and who is having that conversation with you. It's funny, I just talked to my friend Watchman yesterday about that, about thoughts and where they come from and if they're real and manifesting and stuff. But Lisa said some people don't hear thoughts that way. Some people don't have that inner dialogue. They're almost like, I don't know what to say, like robots or something, but they just kind of act out. It was almost would make you think of an animal. You know, they say animals can't contemplate or balance thoughts and go back and forth and like make decisions like that, that they just act on that animalistic instinct, that nature. And so there, I've heard it said before, and Lisa said it in chat, that, you know, some people don't have that inner dialogue or being able to decipher between right and wrong. They just do things on impulse. You know, I guess looking back at our lives, like whether that's not being able to weigh a thought or to balance a thought or make a decision is one thing, to have the inner dialogue or to think before you do something, to take the time. Because I definitely know in my life there was a time before I was conscious, before I was awake, I would say that I did act on impulse and off of feeling, and I didn't take other people's feelings into consideration. So like, you just did something. Somebody punches you, you punch him back, right? And Jesus kind of talks on that, like if somebody slaps you, don't hit them back, because the first impulse is to do that. Like the animalistic nature, the lower nature is like an eye for an eye. They slap you, you slap them back. Jesus says, wait, like if they slap you, hold yourself and give them your other cheek also. So you're fighting that impulse. You're being conscious and mindful of the moment. You know, we got to go deeper into it just in this way of like not repaying evil for evil. Yeah, but think before you do anything. And maybe in some cases, you would punch back. It doesn't mean you're less of a person. It doesn't mean they didn't deserve it. But it's think about it. Don't do anything on impulse. You know, I know Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club always talks about, don't make a lasting decision off of a temporary feeling. Like, don't do something in a split second, in a split moment, that's going to cost you later and cost you a lot. So think about it. Every move is a calculated step. The Bible says, be ye not deceived, whatsoever a man soweth, that he will also reap. Whatever you do is coming back. Whatever you say is manifesting. There is the imagery. There is the thought life. There's the idea. But that turns into, let me think about it and let me act upon it. So be conscious of the moment. Be anxious for nothing. There's a reason for that. I've met people, and with that being said, I've been one of those people who just act on impulse, and somebody does something and you just respond, you react, you say, and it's usually, for me anyway, I think most of you, we take it to the next level. Like we one up it. You know this. Somebody cuts you down, says something to you that you didn't like. It's one thing just to jab back, but you got to hit harder, right? You got to hit harder. You got to make them feel it. It's like, oh, what you did? You said what? Let me hit you with this. And you take it to the next level. Just out of instinct, quick on your toes, reaction. You attack me, paying you back. Somebody punches you, you punch them harder, right? So it's like not doing that, because you get into trouble. There's a lot of people in the penitentiary right now. In the penitentiary, in the grave right now, acting on a sudden impulse, a sudden instinct. Man, shout out to Brett and shout out to Sam for coming on Patreon. I'm getting the alerts right now on the screen. Thank y'all for being a part of the movement, mindful movement, TruthSeekah movement. Man, thank you guys. But that's deep. A lot of people in the penitentiary right now getting in an argument. Spouse says something, take it to the next level. You know, a lot of people locked up and a lot of people dead. So think before you do something. You know, and you hear, I've heard people go on Joe Rogan and talk about that. It's like getting in a fight. somebody says something to you, somebody says something to your wife, you have to stand up. You have to defend your honor. I'm willing to die for the honor of my wife, right? So you have to stand up. You have to do something. But I've heard it mentioned on Joe Rogan. You have experts come on there. It's like, I can fight you because you lashed out at me. You took it to a level that I didn't want to go. So now I'm gonna punch you. Well, that person's got a gun on them. That person's got a knife, and now you lost your life because that person took it to a next level, bringing a knife to a gunfight. So you don't know what people are gonna do. With that, say people, you don't know what you're gonna do. You don't know what you're gonna do. And that's one reason, you know, I think a part of my faith that I stay like dependent and reliant upon the grace of God, and not to be too big-headed or too cocky, because we're vulnerable, man. We're weak. You know, we are powerful, yeah, but we have both natures and both tendencies within us. You have a higher nature, you have a lower nature. You have angelic and you have human. You have yin, you have yang, you have black, you have white, you have positive, you have negative. And you have to choose. You not just default by good. You know, there's these teachings out there now from a lot of my Christian friends who teach that. They actually teach you were what do they call it? That the fall didn't happen. The fall of man was never a thing. That you were, you know, we hear sinless perfection, and what's the word? Somebody give me the word that's used there in Christendom, where you fallen nature, right? That we were born into sin, fallen nature. But they teach like in Christ that you're immediately, everyone is born with the higher nature, and it's not until you learn sin and you learn to do evil and people tell you that you're not good enough and all that kind of stuff comes in. And so they teach that that all we got to do is know that we are of that higher nature. And I know that knowing is what? A visualization. It's to believe, it's to imagine, it's to know. It's the same word in the Bible. To know is to imagine. The belief, to imagine it, to see it in your mind's eye, and then yeah, you can begin to step in that. Because now what you're doing, you're being conscious, you're being mindful, because you have the flesh, the fleshly nature, which is the animalistic nature, the egoic nature. You have the flesh, and then you have the spirit. And the Bible says these two war within one another, even after Christ. That's what we call spiritual warfare. It's taking place between the mind and the heart. It is spiritual warfare. We got to choose, man. And that's the beauty of doing good. That is the beauty of service to others over service to self, is that you could, and you have the ability to choose wrong or to choose evil. Do not repay evil with evil, as the Bible says, but overcome evil with good. Instead of jumping to that first monkey brain, some would call it, egoic animal nature, man, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're saying. I've turned up. I've done stuff that I immediately regret. What's that? They got like YouTube videos of like epic fails and stuff, and they're called instant regret. A moment of instant regret. Somebody does something, and right when they did it, they instantly or immediately regretted it. So I've done that. People said something to me that I didn't like, and I raised the bar and say something worse. And I'm like, I knew it punched him. I knew it was going to do that. I can't take it back. That's why the scripture says that you will give an account for every idle word that you speak. Everything that you say, because you can't take it back. Once you release something, once you say it, you birth it, you create it. You can't take it back. You can apologize. Say, I'm sorry, listen, I didn't mean it that way. You know, I was upset, I was in my feeling. But you can never take it back. I've had fallouts with friends, and they just kind of get to this thing where they like reach a brink of holding stuff in, and they just lash out, and they're just like dumping everything on you, against you, and what they don't like about you, and blah blah blah. I've been holding it in. You're this, you're that, you know, and they're going at it, and I'm begging them, please stop, don't. Listen, I know you're upset. Please don't. Please stop talking. Please, because you're gonna say some stuff that you can't take back. And even though that you can say you're sorry, it's gonna change our relationship forever. And it's not so you're saying you should hold things in, not tell people how you really feel. You should do it with grace. If it's correction, do it with grace. Season with salt. Be tactful, be mindful. Think about it. How can I tell this? How can I communicate with this person how I really feel? And versus just lashing out. And I guess they got mad. I guess they thought that like I would just let them dump everything on me. You know, what are friends for? You should be a listening ear, even if you are the butt of the joke, or you are the one who's under attack. It's like, hold on, please stop. Because I just know how it works. Words are powerful. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Whatever's in your heart's going to come out. And so think before you act. Think before you do something. It goes a long way, especially if you want to preserve something. Pick your battles wisely, if you will. Pick your battles wisely. Jump into the chat again. I see everybody here. Man, shout out to you guys. Dylan says, namaste. Grateful for the work and service. I connect to animals more than most humans. Trees are the real characters. Bless. Peace, G. Shout out to you, Dylan. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, right? Those who have like, you know, and this isn't always the case, but a lot of times when people have problems with humans or with social skills and social anxieties, they tend to flock to animals, befriend animals, and for many people, befriend spirits in the spirit world, in the ethers, and you know, create these dialogues with something that maybe can't or won't run out on you. Somebody who won't lash out, somebody who won't leave you or forsake you. I mean, that's what, you know, again, we talk about scripturally. You know, people are married to God. Women are like, you know, I'm married to the Lord. You know, he'll never leave me. You know, God is a father to the fatherless. He'll never forsake me. You know, and that's something huge for a lot of people, that God steps in and becomes that, or angels step in or become that, or demons, or you, whatever, the Palladians, or your dog steps in and becomes that, because my dog won't gossip. My dog won't cut me down. I can talk to, you know what I'm saying? And so we begin to create those dialogues in our mind. And, you know, I'm for what works, but we do have to be well-rounded. You know, we do have to be in both worlds, you know. Angel Fire says, a very important factor is to cast down every imagination that exalts itself above the knowledge of God. For sure. You know, that's scriptural. And, you know, a lot of those, the Bible is huge about the mind. Like my friend Nico was posting memes that the Bible is about the mind, and the original Bible was probably in the mind, right? And there's a lot of scriptures about renewing the mind, guarding your thoughts, guarding your heart. And I think for these reasons, rightfully so, they're the reasons that we're sharing now, are reasons that you need to guard your mind and your heart and to renew it. So many. Dylan also says in chat, 70 times 7. You know, the Bible talks about forgiveness and forgiving our enemies and forgive those people who sin against us and stuff, and how many times we should do it. And they asked Jesus, should we do it, 70 times or seven. Should we do it 7 times? And Jesus like multiplies it. He said, yeah, you should do it 70 times 7. Do it that many times. And just to blow your mind away. Wow, I should let those people wrong me that many times, or at least forgive them. You can forgive somebody, and it doesn't mean you have to be around them. It doesn't mean you have to continue friendships and walking with them. As Brother Wayne says, the Bible says, I gotta love you. I ain't gotta like you. I do gotta love you. I don't have to like you. Forgive them, forget it, because unforgiveness is like drinking a deadly poison and hoping that someone else gets sick. That person came and did what they had to do and used and abused you and said things that hurt you, and they forgot all about it. It's been 10 years and you're still suffering from it. Listen, forgiveness, tap into it. Bring it into your psyche, bring it into your awareness. Release those people out of your life. Any of those hooks, any of those cords of attachments, whatever it is, let it go. Let it go. That's that song from Frozen. Let it go. Richie says, Brother Wayne. Yes, sir. Let me jump to some more of these comments here. Phone lines are open if you guys want to try them. We'll try. Gothic, are you with me? Do we have any calls, or are you there, brother? Let me know.
Everything's good on my end. I don't know what was going on earlier. That was just weird.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't hear any echo. So we'll get
I'm doing the same thing as like whenever I was working a couple weeks ago. So I have no idea what that was earlier.
No telling. We'll get it figured out. But if you guys want to call in, phone line should be working, I'm assuming. So we can, if you guys want to call in, shout out to Neem Das, aka Shield the Observer. Shout out to you, brother. I'm going to be doing a forward for his book coming up pretty soon. So what would you say? Any comments for just today's podcast and what we've been talking about, Gothic?
I wasn't able to listen too much, but it sounded interesting. I'll have to re-listen to it because I was having to go back and forth between certain things, and also trying to avoid any form of echo. But I could definitely tell that there was a lot more to the conversation to get to, but right. I know that she had to leave.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, right. And we kept getting deep. It's hard to like say, hey, goodbye, thanks for coming on. When we end it real deep, it's like, oh Lord, we gotta try to change the subject. But oh man, I don't like ending.
And I know it's like deep conversations.
Yeah, I played that clip, and that clip was like, a punch in the face or whatever. But we need it. We need a punch in the mouth every now and then from spirit. Bring this stuff. Bring this stuff to the forefront. Bring this to the table. Talk about it. So Richie says, thank you everyone for hanging out. Please click the like and get ready for the School of the Mystics live with TruthSeekah later today. I won't be able to make School of the Mystics, but if it's something that Richie, you want to lead up and lead conversation, I will send out the link for everyone to join on in the community and hang out. My wife is doing the Buckaroo at the Blue, raising money for the foundation for the children, for her foundation. So we do that once a year, and I forgot all about it. But yeah, that's tonight, and it didn't have it on my calendar, so I won't be able to make School of the Mystics. But if somebody wants to head it up, Gothic and Richie and Dylan and all you guys want to hang out, man, definitely do that, because we need each other right now more than ever. So last week we had the webinar, so there was no regular School of the Mystics, and people was asking about that. So if you guys want to lead that up, let me know. But usually every Thursday we do the School of the Mystics, which is just to hang out. We do pray, we do tap into meditation and breath work, and really just open discussion with like-minded people, just to make ourselves available, man, to roll ideas off. And I like to listen. I listen a lot, I share a lot, and have that floor to let listen, we can make connections, and we've definitely done that. Richie is in chat. Richie went and met with Mark Scion Fire, who has been in the community for a while, and they connected in the physical just the other day. and it's cool to be a facilitator of that magic. And I've met Gothic, and many of you listening, we've been together at events, and many of you have been to my house and all of that. So it's good to connect with people and take advantage of technology, whether we connect in the physical or Zoom and the School of the Mystics, or throughout the week on Discord. We have a lot of different technology that we take advantage of to do that. So much obliged to connect with everybody and facilitate awakening and conversation. Richie posts, he said, yeah, I'll hold it down tonight for everybody. Having a good evening. Yes, sir. Nice. Dylan says he's down for sure. So I will send out the link, and I will give, it'll be a different link for those of you who are used to a certain link that you click on to jump in. It'll be via the Mystic Circle link. And so Richie will head that up in that hangout. And so, yeah. We are, I hate, I'm not, come on. We're in trying times. We need help. We need each other. We need each other. We need to vent. We need to talk things out. We need to be strong for each other, and the Bible says to mourn with those who mourn and weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice, because we'll take turns doing that. We take turns. So those who are in your circle, on your Facebook feed, who are mourning, be there for them, because there'll come a time where you need it. And when you do that for others, I believe that it'll in turn be done for you. And trust me, we really need it right now. So continue to pray for me and my family and everyone else out there. Take care of yourself. Do whatever you can to stay healthy. Eat your vitamins. Get in the sun. Do your research. And that's key. Make an assessment, as old Greg says. Make an assessment. I don't know if you guys know that, but take care of yourself, man. Mindful in this moment. New album is about to come out. Waiting on a feature that hopefully the two features I'm waiting on will be done this week, this weekend. Waiting on one from Watchman, which I heard his verse over the phone. Really good verse. He's going to be on As Above, So Below. And me and Watchman haven't done anything in a while. So to hear him drop some dope, spiritual, etheric verses was good. So I heard he called me up and let me hear his verse. So he should come over this weekend and record. And we're also waiting on a verse from O.D. James, who's local as well. And I heard the majority of his verse. He sent me a rough draft, and it's cool too. So he's going to be on, what song is that? I Shaman with myself and Illuminati Congo. So that's going to be good. We do have the event coming up with Illuminati Congo and myself on, it's in November. I feel like it's November the 20th, but you have to just go to my website, TruthSeekah.com, and check it out. All of the stuff that I got going on there. I'm starting my 8-week program coming up with the mystic training with the Path of the Healer program, which we've already did 2 sessions of that. I say sessions, and it's getting better and better, and launching people out there to do what they love for a living, and get healed themselves. And it's been amazing. Some cool people getting to really grow with, and not just do a one-off and train and pour into you, but every week we got it's an 8-week program that we've been able to do. So that info is at TruthSeekah.com for those of you who want to step out into any of that. So first 4 weeks are about healing. Second 4 weeks are about how to tap into that etheric energy and push and pull and send energy. Then about how to brand and how to start it and how to put yourself out there, whether it's starting a podcast, starting a website, a blog. There's many different resources that we have, and I cover it all. It's pretty overwhelming because we go through a lot. I will say that. It gets intense. But it's recorded, and you can go back and listen and incorporate it and learn. I cover it all. Everything that I do, I pour myself into these students for 8 weeks. And you're going to learn how to do it all. And I've connected with some beautiful people, launched some beautiful people, and they're continuing to thrive out there. So that's coming up. Richie says the retreat is November 20th. Yes, a lot of people reaching out to me saying that they're about to get tickets and want to come. So we have 7 slots available. So first come, first serve. Talked to Fred today. Fred is planning on coming. I know Richie and Sion are going to try to make it out. And those are always fun because we do those in person with the retreat that we're having with Illuminati Congo and myself. It's going to be good. That's about it, man. Clarity Consciousness says, I feel like I'm in church when I listen to you. Hopefully you feel edified. We should be edified in church. We should be connected in church. Hopefully you're not beat down. But you know what? Sometimes I like to get beat down in church. I can't lie to you. I like to be convicted. I like to be challenged. You know, I like to hear people raise the bar and show me how I can do better. There's things within my reach and grasp right now. And sometimes that punch in the stomach spiritually is good. Can't lie to you. You know, maybe that's what Dave Chappelle just did when we listened to that. It's like a punch in the stomach. It makes you think. Makes you think. So that's I remember that Dave Chappelle clip. There's also one from George Carlin going in on Christianity and religion and God and hell. And as a Christian, as a believer, like it punched me in the stomach, but it was more about an awakening to a deeper truth of like, hey, look at it this way. You know, anybody or anything, Dave Chappelle, he just held up a mirror. George Carlin held up a mirror. Look at yourself. Look at yourself, man. Look what you're doing. Look what you're saying. Take a look in the mirror. And the scriptures are a mirror. The Bible says that. It's beholding in the mirror. And the foolish person would behold their image, their face in the mirror, and then walk away and immediately forget what they've seen, what they look like. So the Bible is this inward reflection of the heart. So again, you know, I do appreciate getting heavy, getting deep. And that's what we did on this podcast. Out the gate, off the bat. You know, welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast. Where are we going when we die? You know, we just came out with it. It was just what it is. And I love to explore that. You know, we do that. We ask questions, make people think. And so for me, a lot of times, you know, I play the devil's advocate. The devil's advocate, and has nothing to do with the devil. Nothing to do with Satan. Some people think it does because of the name. You know, I gotta say that because there's people who are making memes about me and using that term, saying stop playing the devil's advocate and stand up for whatever. But it's about looking at all sides. A coin has 2 sides to it. A broken clock is right twice a day. To say that there's only one side to every coin, you're mistaken. You're fooling yourself. You gotta research both sides. I'm big on this on all my podcasts, and when I go and do talks, listen, you gotta research both sides. To only research one side and claim that you're an expert, man, get out of here. Spiritual awakening is when you flip it over and you say, oh wow, the very thing that I was persecuting, the very thing that I was an expert on, I found myself to be foolish. I found myself to be unlearned. We look at Paul on the road to Damascus, riding a mule, and he's visited by Christ in the spirit. He sees a light and he's blinded, and he remained blinded for days. And he heard a voice, and the voice spoke to him and said, Paul, Paul, why are you persecuting me? So he falls off his horse and he's blinded for days. He has to be led. Everyone around him was, you know, seeing this happening to him, and he had this spiritual encounter. And what was it? It was the notion of repenting. You know, we hear that word, and it's a scary word. It's a religious term. Metanoia, to repent. Repent is to have a change of mind, to have a change of heart. It's to flip the coin. I was going left, but you turned me right. I was seeking death, but you gave me life. It's the opposite. So I was in the darkness, now I'm in light. I was down, now I'm up. It's to be on the opposite side of the spectrum of the very thing that you were probably an expert on persecuting. So Paul heard the voice of Christ, seen the vision. He says, Paul, Paul, why are you persecuting me? This dude was killing Christians. This dude was the biggest person that Christians feared, that he was out there killing people who were followers of Christ. And then they seen him later and they were kind of scared. And it showed them the reality of his message and the reality of the Lord Jesus, because the very one that was trying to kill them was now proclaiming the gospel of grace that was revealed to him. It was shown to him. He experienced that grace of what? A hard stance on this side. A hard right. I was strongly on this side, adamantly against that side. And then there's a flip of the coin and you find yourself on the other side of the fence, in the same shoes of the people that you were persecuting, the same people that you were exposing, you know. And so that is the devil's advocate. You know, that was a role in the early church. There's actually a role. People talk about reincarnation and past life regression and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm a skeptic. I have the dialogue. I want to believe, maybe, sometimes. I'm even open about why I don't want to believe, because I honestly don't want to come back as another person with another family. I want to be with my family, you know, in eternity. So there's that reason. But people talk about it. Reincarnation and coming back. And I'm a big skeptic of it. But if I was reincarnated, it's usually because, you know, people say they're reincarnated and they do things in this life, or they were in the last life or in a former life what they want to do in this life. So yeah, I was a great mystic. I was a wizard. You know, I was a king. I was a pharaoh. I taught magic in mystery schools, and that's why it's coming out of me today. I'm a mystic. I was of the mystical path in Egypt. You know, and there's these. I'm a skeptic. Skepticism helps you tap into the real. But if I was reincarnated, according to that, maybe I was a devil's advocate in the early church. Maybe that was my role, of someone to come on and take both sides and show you both sides of the coin. And it was a role. That's how they choose doctrine, to let people listen, man. We're going to give you all sides of it. You can't just give you one side. Listen, you need both sides. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a healthy thing. It's because the word devil's on it. You demonize your opposition. You demonize the other side. When the opposition is being used of God to show you things about yourself that you couldn't see. You know, biblically, God used Israel's enemies to chastise them and to teach them things. So you have to be able to see yourself in the things you hate. You have to be able to see yourself in the opposition and those on the other side. So yes, it is healthy. What we're doing on this podcast is healthy. You don't just take one side and not study, not roll ideas and say what if and all of this. So it is healthy. So people out there making memes about me, you know, playing the devil's advocate and taking up for the devil. Man, listen, get a life. Get a life. You ain't woke. You're still asleep. Again, you have to have compassion for your enemies. You got to be like Paul. If anybody had an awakening, Paul had the awakening. And he began helping the same people that he was fighting against. You became an enemy of the state. You became an enemy of those people. You got to look at the other side. Put yourself in their shoes. Walk a mile. Listen, walk a mile in their shoes. Somebody asks you to go with them a mile. Go with them 2. See what it's like. Paul then comes to this conclusion where he says, I've become all things to all men so that I can win some. It's my mantra. He says, to those who are under the law, I become as one who is under the law. To those who are free, I become free. To those who are Greek and into doctrine, and listen, I'm gonna talk it with you. We're gonna go there in hopes that I can win the conversation as far as with my love, with my grace can be sprinkled in there with a little bit of salt. Not to be right and win it that way, but to win you as a friend. There's a lot of truth in that, guys. I hope y'all get it. This is deep. It's a big nugget for sure. You got to be able to see yourself in the thing that you hate. You got to be able to see yourself. You got to face your fears and understand why I'm scared of it. Why am I triggered? It's a reason. And then when you can embrace that, then you're free. Whatever Satan is, it doesn't hold any power against you because you're at one. I'm at one with my family, my friends, my enemies, the spirits, the angels, the demons, and the ethers. I'm at one with everything. I'm at one with God. I'm at one with my brothers and sisters, and I'm at one with myself. At one. ATONE. At one. Atone. Atone. Atonement. That is the atonement. That hero Israel, the Lord is one. I'm at one with all beings and all creation. Nothing is against me. Things are showing me different parts of my psyche, different parts of my personality, helping me become free. Can I get an amen? Let me know in the chat if you guys are feeling this. When you take a hard left or a hard right, listen, you're gonna crash. When you pull that steering wheel so hard to the right or to the left, you're gonna crash. You gotta steer it right in the middle, right between those lines. It's called the narrow path for a reason in the scriptures. The narrow path, the highway of holiness. Again, it's not too far right, it's not too far left, it's in the middle. It's not this religion, my religion, that religion. It's somewhere in the middle. Hopefully you find peace in that middle ground, because that's where it's at. That is where it is at. Balance. Balance the energy. Balance your chakras. Balance your finances. Balance your checkbook. I remember somebody told me that years ago. I laughed at them. Thought they were a crazy person. But they understood something. They really did. I couldn't see it at the time. Now I look back and it's hindsight. I see what you mean, man. Balance. It's not hard right, which is what I was. It was in the middle. You may look like a crazy person to others. You may be a fool for the sake of Christ, right? As the Bible says. Thrice great is here with us, which is Soth, Melchizedek, some would say Jesus, says the swing of the pendulum. Okay, and I'm saying he's here with us. Listen, I'm reading the comment for those of you listening to the audio apps. Well, maybe he is here with us, right? Spiritually, right? But I'm reading the comment. I set that up kind of weird. The swing of the pendulum to the left is the swing of the pendulum to the right. And this is written of in the Kabbalion. And what you got to do, you swing with it. The thing I say about that pendulum, don't let it be a wrecking ball. Don't let it, as far as friendships, burning bridges, unless they need to be burned. Because when you take that hard stance or hard right, you lash out. You post things. You share things that are adamantly against the other side until 4 years later, you swing back. Oh man, that's what they meant. That's what they meant. I see what you mean. So don't let your pendulum be a wrecking ball. Enjoy the ride. You only get it once, at least in this incarnation. Have fun. Be there for those people who need you. Be present, be mindful. Every moment. Listen is what we talk about. All of it can be summed up in that. To love and to be present. And that's wisdom. My songs are about it. The Bible is about it. All the ancient text is about it. To be mindful. Don't never miss a moment. Never miss a thing. I'm going to finish this album, White Magic. Pre-order is up now for those of you who want an autographed copy. But I'm going to drop another one called Emotions. It's going to be up very soon. I'm just going to drop it. So that those are tracks that I've been working on that are kind of like left over, that didn't make the White Magic cut, just because stylistically they're different. And a lot of it is about emotions, exploring, being open and honest. A lot about friendships on there. So stylistically it's a little bit different, but that's just going to drop on you. So you got to follow me on Spotify. I would say Spotify. Follow me on YouTube, because the videos and the imagery and those kind of things we're just going to drop spur of the moment. It maybe today. I don't know. Got to mix one song, and again, as soon as these final mixes are done, they're going up. So that's going to drop very soon as well. For those of you who are here for the music, and I know that I haven't been inspired, in a long time, and so that's why this album took a long time. It took a while for you to really get some good stuff. After raising the bar so high with beats and production and lyrics and words and creativity and spirituality, you got to keep raising it. But I think I did. You got to meet or beat is the name of the game. Once you set the bar up here, you gotta meet it. You can't go below it. That's my rule. Oh, you're being too hard on yourself, TruthSeekah. Just put it out. No, listen, there's a reason why you like my music, because it was always held to that standard. There's a reason why you like my lyrics, because there's always held to that standard. So to be vocal about that standard, to explain the processes in my mind that goes on with that, is what we do on the podcast. Talk openly and honest about it, and things come, and inspiration, and you got a new album. White Magic is here. The pre-order is available. The sample is available. There's I think it's 11 tracks, 13 tracks. It's available to sample on YouTube, and the pre-order is up as well. So hopefully, again, as soon as those features come back, the people who pre-ordered are getting their downloads first, and then you'll get a physical copy that is autographed by me, and Emotions will drop as well whenever. Just going to be an album that just pops up on your feed. So thank you guys for the support. Again, all the patrons get access to this stuff already. Everything that's already done, even early rough copies, like you got access to it, is on Patreon. So go over there, support me. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There's a lot that you get, and School of the Mystics, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys check it out. With that, we are going to say peace and shalom, man. Thanks for hanging out. Stargate says reincarnation came from primitive animal worship, and that's why Jesus taught that we have to grow like a mustard seed. One thing about reincarnation that you don't hear as much anymore, that we used to see like in movies, and it used to be really taught even in Buddhism and stuff, but you don't hear it anymore because it's not as sexy. Is that you come back as a fly, a house fly, or a dog, or a blade of grass. You know, you come back as something that you don't want to be. We don't hear much of that anymore. And people say, yeah, that was wrong. You only come back as a human. Humans recycle as humans. But I used to hear it a lot, and you don't hear it anymore. It doesn't sell. You don't want to come back as a fly and get squashed, or an ant, you know, or a molecule, or a, you know, a piece of sludge that has life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to come back as another person, that you can be a pharaoh in Egypt. Listen, I got to stop. You want to come back as something cool. Keep it sexy, guys. Make it fun. We explore. Ask the deep questions, because why? If you don't ask the questions, you'll never get the answers. It's what we do. It's the Devil's Advocate Podcast. Love you guys. Peace and shalom. Stay well. Peace. Drink water. Remember to breathe. Richie Breath. Breathe just told me to say that.
Your way so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.